Caitlin Clark does return to the floor. How is she going to help elevate this team even more down the stretch of the season?
Well, she demands so much gravity on the defensive end of the floor. She's constantly seeing multiple players, and she makes the right reads and makes the right plays for our group. So she's going to continue to allow us to stretch the floor. We're going to be able to, I think everybody else will be able to get more higher percentage looks because of what she demands on the defensive end of the floor. And she brings our own defensive versatility because of her length, because of her size. So we'll certainly look different. I think we'll be that much more dangerous on offense in particular.
The basketball world is in complete chaos after Stephanie White dropped a bombshell that has Fever fans demanding her immediate removal. In a recent interview, she didn't just reveal Caitlin Clark's new role upon her return from injury. She basically admitted that Clark's absence has been what she called a blessing in disguise. Those 3 words have ignited a firestorm that's threatening to tear apart everything the Indiana Fever has built around their franchise player. White's comments weren't just tone-deaf. They exposed a fundamental disconnect between what fans want to see and what she's trying to implement. While Clark has been sidelined with a groin injury that's kept her out of multiple games, the Fever have actually gone on a 5-game winning streak. Instead of acknowledging this as temporary success that still pales in comparison to Clark's impact, White doubled down on her controversial stance, suggesting the team functions better without their superstar.
Right. Stephanie White, do not put Ari and Kelsey and Caitlin on the floor at the same time. Please don't do it. Please don't do it, man. Please. All right? That lineup made no sense at all. All right? Why would you do that? Why would you do that, Stephanie White? All right, now.
The ESPN interview that started this entire controversy revealed something far more sinister than just poor word choice. White outlined a completely restructured role for Clark when she returns, moving her away from the point guard position that made her the most dominant force in women's basketball history. She wants Clark playing off the ball, standing in corners, and basically becoming just another piece in her precious Connecticut Sun-style system. This isn't just a tactical adjustment, it's coaching malpractice on the highest level. When you have the NCAA Division I all-time leading scorer, a player who single-handedly revolutionized women's basketball and brought unprecedented attention to the sport, you don't try to fit her into your outdated offensive philosophy. You build everything around her unique talents, but White seems more interested in proving her system works than maximizing the generational talent sitting right in front of her.
And we've got Stephanie White praising Caitlin Clark. Did hell freeze over somewhere I don't know about? I don't know. We'll see. But she actually made some very nice comments, I guess, about Caitlin Clark today. She was on with ESPN.
The numbers tell a devastating story about what this approach has already cost Clark and the Fever. In her limited appearances this season, Clark's field goal percentage has dropped to a concerning 36.7%, and her three-point shooting has plummeted to just 27.9%. On the road, where the physical play intensifies, she's shooting an abysmal 2 of 35 from downtown. These aren't the statistics of a player who's being utilized properly. These are the numbers of a superstar being systematically destroyed by poor coaching decisions.
Thankfully, she went on ESPN and didn't use the phrase blessing in disguise. I mean this when I say this. I've said this about Stephanie White plenty of times. I actually think Stephanie White's a hell of a coach. So many people are like, oh, you've done nothing but criticize Stephanie White. I think she's got flaws. I think her rotations are iffy. I think her game plans are good. I think her defense is good. And I think her ability to get a team together is pretty good. I think she likes to play a bit slow, but she is very good. What Stephanie White is really good at is making players and teams play better than they should.
What makes this situation even more infuriating is the physical punishment Clark has absorbed while White's system has failed to protect her. The statistics are absolutely staggering and should terrify anyone who cares about player safety. 17% of all flagrant fouls in the WNBA this season have been committed against Clark. When 80% of those fouls come from a single team, the Chicago Sky, it stops being coincidence and starts being a deliberate pattern of targeting. The physical toll has been building since the season's opening games, and it's getting worse by the week. From Kennedy Carter's blindside body check to Marina Mabrey's devastating hit after Clark had already been poked in the eye, the league's most valuable player has absorbed punishment that would have ended careers in previous eras. Yet instead of demanding better protection from officials or adjusting her system to shield Clark from unnecessary contact, White's response has been to further limit her role and minutes.
In everything that we do, for us, moving her off the ball a little bit more so she's not getting worn out in game, just handling the ball 94 feet. And then we're challenging her on the defensive end of the floor as well, like being a better defender. The best that for us as an opponent, you want to attack a good offensive player by making him play on the defensive end, putting him through the ringer. So being a better defender.
White's obsession with implementing her Connecticut Sun playbook has turned into a disaster of epic proportions. The Sun were one of the lowest scoring teams in the WNBA last season, grinding out ugly wins with a style of basketball that puts viewers to sleep. That approach might work with role players, but when you have someone like Clark, a player who thrives in transition, creates magic with the ball in her hands, and makes impossible shots look routine, forcing her into that system is like putting training wheels on a Ferrari.
In 5 with Caitlin. At the end of the day, no matter how many games they win, they lost more games without Caitlin Clark playing. So everybody argument that Caitlin Clark is the Achilles heel, Caitlin Clark is this and that, your argument is obsolete, bro. They will forever have that notion on there, that blemish on there. Now, if they would have won more games, lost less, then you might have had something. But by them losing 7 damn games without Caitlin Clark playing, lets us know that, they need Caitlin Clark.
The injury pattern tells the most damning story of all. Clark has missed more games due to injury in her sophomore WNBA season than she missed in her entire college career at Iowa. Think about that for a moment. At Iowa, she was playing 35-plus minutes per game, carrying her team to back-to-back national championship appearances, and absorbing constant defensive attention from opposing teams. Yet she stayed healthy. Under White's supposedly careful management and minutes restrictions, the soft tissue injuries keep piling up precisely because Clark isn't being allowed to play in the rhythm and flow her body is accustomed to.
On the entire league. Remember, she literally added nearly 3 points a game to her average. She was setting records for assists. Now, that's with Christy Sides having understood the job and just letting Caitlin Clark go wild. That's why I won't buy into the Fever. She's got to greatly alter her game for the Fever to get much better. No, she came back last year. She went scorched earth, and they were beating nearly everybody.
The most frustrating aspect of this entire situation is White's insistence on playing Clark off the ball. This isn't just a minor tactical tweak, it's a fundamental misunderstanding of what makes Clark special. When she's controlling the offense, everything clicks. The ball moves, points are scored, and her teammates get better looks because of the attention she commands. During her return game against the Golden State Valkyries, playing in White's new system, Clark managed just 10 points on 4 of 12 shooting, one of her worst performances of the season. Clark herself has made it clear she's not comfortable with this role change. Her body language during press conferences when discussing potentially playing more off the ball tells the whole story. She's clearly frustrated with being asked to play a position that doesn't suit her strengths. As she put it herself, controlling the offense is what she's best at. Yet White continues to push her away from that responsibility.
I know she wants to be out here on the floor, and we want her out here on the floor, but making sure that she's ready is the most important thing. I still don't know how far we are. We're going to take it one step at a time, one day at a time, and go from there.
The fan reaction has been swift and brutal. Social media has exploded with criticism of White's handling of Clark, with many calling for an immediate coaching change. Comments like, Stephanie White needs to stop this game plan and let Cece run the show, and never seen Cece look this down and dejected. White has done her job, and broken Cece are flooding every platform. The frustration is completely understandable. Fans aren't tuning in to watch White's Connecticut Sun-style grinded-out offense. They want to see Clark do what she does best, create magic with the ball in her hands, make impossible shots, and elevate everyone around her.
Ari McDonald, all she care about is putting the ball in the hoop. Everybody want to score. That's it. Y'all can barely look. Y'all had 17 assists against the Aces the other night. Y'all can't even put up 20 assists a game. That's sad. That's pathetic. Y'all don't be getting Sophie the ball when she open. You know what I'm saying? She be playing defense and everything, and Lexi Hull. Y'all need to reward those girls. They working hard, bro. Those are some hard-working women at the end of the day. You hear me? That's crazy.
The championship window that's being wasted here should concern every Fever fan. The organization has talented players around Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and others who can contribute at a high level. But instead of building an offense that maximizes everyone's strengths with Clark as the focal point, White continues trying to implement a system that worked in Connecticut with completely different personnel. The Fever went 20-20 last season under Christy Sides and made the playoffs for the first time since 2016. That was with a coach who, despite her flaws, at least understood that Clark needed to be the centerpiece of everything they did.
All of y'all who said we were exaggerating, Caitlin Clark's not getting fouled, bruh, it's to the point. It's to the point where we have this going on.
The comparison to other legendary point guards exposes just how absurd White's approach really is. Can you imagine Magic Johnson being told to play off the ball because the coach wanted to give him a breather? Or John Stockton being asked to stand in the corner while someone else ran the offense? It's completely ridiculous. Yet that's exactly what White is proposing for a player who should have the ball in her hands as much as possible. White's recent comments about taking Clark's return one step at a time and having no timetable for her comeback sound more like damage control than genuine concern for player health. She's treating Clark like some role player returning from a long-term injury, not the face of the franchise and the most talented player in the league. The way she talks about reintegrating Clark from a strength and conditioning standpoint shows a complete disconnect from the reality of who Clark is and what she brings to the table.
Listen to this.
Yeah, we have updates, and our recovery's going well. It's just, I think for us staying the course and making sure that we're really diligent about each step that we take, and that we don't have setbacks, and that we're patient with it. I know she wants to be out here on the floor, and we want her out here on the floor, but making sure that she's ready is the most important thing. I still don't know how far we are. We're going to take it one step at a time, one day at a time, and go from there.
What makes White's coaching philosophy even more puzzling is how it completely ignores what worked last season. Under Christy Sides, despite all her mistakes, Clark was able to show flashes of her college brilliance. She was setting records for assists, adding nearly 3 points per game to her scoring average, and the team was actually competitive against top-tier opponents. The moment Clark was allowed to play her natural game last season, the Fever started beating nearly everybody. But White seems determined to fix something that wasn't broken. The blessing in disguise comment will go down as one of the most tone-deaf statements in recent coaching history. While White might argue she was referring to other players getting opportunities to develop, the timing and context make it clear she's more comfortable with Clark on the sideline than on the court. This isn't about player development or team chemistry. This is about a coach who's more invested in proving her system works than in maximizing the talents of a generational player.
I think the obvious issue is Stephanie White is so stubborn to fit a circle in a square peg instead of utilizing the strengths of the team. And she probably felt relief because Caitlin Clark was hurt that, this is my time. I could introduce the culture and the system. And some actually bought in. And then when Caitlin Clark comes back, she doesn't know how to use her.
The solution to this entire mess is embarrassingly simple, which makes White's stubborn refusal to implement it even more maddening. Let Caitlin Clark be Caitlin Clark. Give her the ball, surround her with players who can complement her skills, and get out of the way. Build the system around the player, not the other way around. Every great coach in basketball history has understood this fundamental principle when dealing with transcendent talent. The clock is ticking on Clark's prime years, and every game spent trying to make her fit into White's Connecticut Sun playbook is a game wasted. Clark didn't become the most watched player in women's basketball history by playing off the ball in someone else's system. She did it by taking control, making impossible plays, and elevating everyone around her through her unique combination of vision, shooting ability, and basketball IQ.
Stephanie Jigsaw White. Let me tell you something. Y'all do not move the ball better without my Caitlin Clark, aka my precious CC. At the end of the day, y'all have only won 4 games and recorded 4 games where y'all had 20 assists as a team at the end of the day. Caitlin Clark, aka my precious CC, she averages 7 to 9 assists a game. You hear me? Because she moves the ball and get everybody open, because everybody and their mama and their grandma be double teaming and triple teaming her, and her team is lazy when it comes to setting screens for her. Maybe she wouldn't be injured.
Until White abandons her rigid coaching philosophy and embraces what Clark brings to the table, the Fever will continue to underachieve despite having the most gifted player in the sport. The question isn't whether Clark can adapt to White's system. It's whether White can swallow her pride and admit that her approach is fundamentally flawed when dealing with generational talent. Fever fans deserve better than watching their franchise player get diminished by coaching decisions that prioritize system over stars. Clark deserves better than being treated like a role player who needs to earn her minutes and prove her worth. And the sport of women's basketball deserves better than having its biggest star relegated to standing in corners while a coach tries to prove a point that nobody wants to see proven. The hope is that when Clark returns from this latest injury setback, she can overcome all the obstacles White has placed in her path and show once again why she's the most electrifying player in the game. But for that to happen, she needs to be unleashed, not constrained. She needs to be the system, not just another player trying to fit into one. Until White understands that fundamental truth, the Fever will continue to waste the incredible opportunity they have sitting right in their hands.